The example of the sort of emissions charge and the politics and is interesting because there are a lot of brands that really provoke a lot of, or brands that, I suppose, brands number one that can provoke a lot of passion and interest. So technology brands, for example, like Apple is always a oft quoted one, but other brands can connect themselves to very hot issues like the emissions charge. When you have something that's really not that interesting and is not really likely to kind of get people excited, like, I don't know, like soap or some sort of really, stupidly practical thing, then the opportunity to kind of get people talking about it is a little bit limited, and you have to take a different approach. And I think what we've done in some cases like that is actually just go out of our way to help people that are using the brand and have questions about the brand. So if you can't invent something exciting to talk around, then you actually just have to kind of improve your brand so that there is something to talk about, or just go out of your way to kind of offer that practical help, that practical advice. So when someone asks a question or is commenting on something about your product, just replying to them, using some of the monitoring tools and going and replying to them on an individual basis, just to show them that you're listening and that you care about them, is perhaps as much as you can hope for that kind of brand. So it depends on what kind of opportunities you have for having that conversation, and they're very different depending on who you are.
So in that context, is social media really PR, or is it marketing, or where does it sit within that sort of that 4 Ps of the marketing circle?
Well, there's a fifth one, participation. So it's a bit of both and neither, I'd say, in terms of marketing and PR, because you have to have a bit of a PR understanding about having an ongoing relationship with people that are your customers, or people that influence your customers. But you also have to have a bit of a marketing hat on in terms of understanding their motivations and understanding how they're behaving with your brand. But bring it back to local, I suppose. If you're a sandwich shop, what are you going to actually get people talking about? You actually really can't really get them too excited about something unless there's a new sandwich on this week, and even that's going to be pretty limited, right? I mean, if you don't like ham and there's a new ham sandwich, what are you going to say? But if you're there and you have a good experience and you say, oh, the staff at my local sandwich shop were really nice to me today, then you can, as a brand, reply to them online and say, oh, we're so glad you had a good time. Thanks for letting us know which one was it, so that we can send those guys a gold star or whatever. Or conversely, if there was a bad experience and it's like, oh, the coffee was cold today that I got from wherever, then you can say, oh, tell us where it was so that we can make sure it doesn't happen again and give you a free cup next time. So that's not really that exciting. It's not going to provoke the same sort of debate as Volvo were able to, but it's still meaningful, and it's still building a relationship with your customers, which is an important thing to do.
And I think a lot of the time it's consumers driving where the social media element sits, whether it's PR, marketing, or more along the lines of customer service. For my 6 weeks project, taking a couple of examples out of that, for Marks and Spencer's, I wrote letters to their customer services department and also tweeted them on their Marks and Spencer Twitter page, and got no response despite a few lines into them on Twitter. And then 2 people responded from their customer services department before finally they got in touch with me on Twitter. So that shows how they weren't using social media in joined up ways with other forms of communication with consumers, and how they have to be aware of the crossover of boundaries that social media allows consumers to have, whether that's through marketing, PR, or customer services, or in many other ways that companies are using social media, such as for recruitment and HR purposes.
It'd be good actually to see if somebody has some hard data on that, but my sense is that most of the money comes from, right now, from PR budgets, or from some little buckets that brands have for creative, experimental, experiential, potentially kind of stuff. But I don't think it is still part of, like, their traditional main marketing budgets.
There's been, I recall Sokratis last year, one of the companies in the US who in many ways similar to your business and who are now over here, Yelp, ran into some controversy around the way in which reviews were used positively or negatively to influence money that was spent on the website. And I also know of cases where people have written to review sites and asked for negative feedback on their brands to be taken down. from Trusted Places' point of view, have you run into those sorts of questions? Has there been any discussion around that?
Yeah, every day. I don't think that that particular issue with Yelp, I think there is some, I'm not sure exactly that, you know, the facts there as they were being reported were accurate. For example, there was talk of using the removal of reviews as a selling tool, which I don't think is the case, but often it is hard when you have especially a small business owner that is really passionate about what they do. Perhaps they don't have the, if you like, the marketing savviness that a lot of people in this room would have, and you do have an aggressive sales force speaking to them day in, day out. It becomes easy for, if you like, the truth to be misinterpreted, let's put it diplomatically. Now, in terms of the content and what you do with reviews that are perceived to be defamatory, you know, untrue, kind of take all that range of, you know, complaints that you can have from a local business. Our answer to that is that we do look at all of that, all of those cases on an individual basis. We do have some certain rules that govern the creation of content that state, for example, you cannot be inciting hatred, you have to be objective, you have to be factual. Anyway, it is quite a, if you like, it is a story that is still being formed. What we're seeing now is that what we had originally, you know, when we started 3 years ago, we are seeing, if you like, acceptance in the market. We are seeing a lot more people now telling us, look, I've seen this review on your site, I've seen it on another 3 or 4 local sites as well. What is it that you can do about it? Some cases we do remove content, but more and more people now are beginning to understand that it's not possible to actually stop the conversation happening around their business, around their brand. The only thing that they can do is actively join and trying to influence the sentiment and influence the outcome. So we do allow any business owner to come into the site, join entirely for free, respond to comments and opinions, and even contact individual members themselves. Do we have it perfect? I don't think so yet, but there's still a big perception, if you like, in some parts of the media world that this is too much of an unacceptable risk for them. And it's just like any other risk that we have as Trusted Places. We just manage it, and actually the cost of managing it is very, very low, because a lot of the time it's the community itself that does, if you like, the moderation and the editing of content for us.
As an advisor, Nathan or Carolyn, or Paul, how would you recommend to your clients that they dealt with a situation where they're getting bad press through a particular social media channel?
I think you have to take it on a case-by-case basis. I mean, I've done some stuff with political parties where live events were being tweeted and people were using the C word live on the Twitter feed, and, you know, should you be moderating that kind of thing? I mean, there's an argument for moderating the C word, but it's a case-by-case basis, and it goes back to basic PR understanding. You need to have a conversation with that person or those individuals and see if you can't find a way through it, or find a way in which you can help them. I don't believe in culling them. I don't believe in suing them unless it's illegal. We had an example where I was working with a deo brand, and they made this little pocket deo, and there was a guy in Essex called Dave, and he was using this little deodorant as an alternative to Rohypnol, and he was blogging about it prolifically, and it was terrible. And on that instance, we got somebody senior from the brand to call him, to contact him and say, this is kind of inappropriate, and, you know, we wondered if, you know, you could perhaps stop doing this. Their legal department wanted to, you know, call the police, which I thought was a bad idea.
Yeah. Has there been any experience from the audience of anybody having to tackle these kinds of questions?